Ma tovu, ma tovu, ma tovu ohanecha Yaakov.
Mishknotecha Yisrael.
Mishknotecha Yisrael. V'ani brachastecha. Avo beitecha. Eshtachave elecha kodshecha. Be'iratecha. Elecha kodshecha. Be'iratecha. Adonai ahavti miyod betecha Omkom Mishkan Kavodecha Vani Estachave Vechla Evrecha Livnei Adonai Osi Bani Tfilati Lecha Adonai Ezrahatzon Elohim Berov Chasdecha Haneni Be'emet Yishecha Be'emet Yishecha.
Shabbat Shalom. On behalf of Bet David Santon, Bet Menorah Pretoria and Bet David Durban, we welcome you to another hybrid Shabbat service. And we're pleased to have congregants from our three congregations join us this evening, and a special welcome to all our visitors who are here in the sanctuary tonight. All congregants in the synagogue are still required to keep their masks on at all times unless called to the bima to stand and read from the reading desk, and remember to sanitize before and after coming up to the bima. Should anyone wish to sponsor a Shabbat service, to celebrate a simcha, or simply to support the congregation, please contact the synagogue office. And tonight, the Shabbat candles will be lit by Lola Groneman.
Our source of light and truth, creator of eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik neshel Shabbat.
Amen. Amen. Good Shabbos. And you'll see, everybody, that we've lit a third candle tonight, and that is for Ukraine, and we will pray for peace. This evening, we're on the eve of Parashat Shmini Parah. And I want to talk both about, just a little bit about the Haftarah and the Parsha that we're reading. The Haftarah actually tells of how King David had the Holy Ark brought to Jerusalem. And on the way, Uzzah, who was walking alongside the wagon that was carrying the ark, he noticed that the oxen had slipped. And he was worried that the ark would fall off and be damaged. So he put out his hand towards the ark. And that was literally a fatal mistake because God took his life. And why is that? Well, some commentators say it's because Uzzah should have trusted that God's ark would never have fallen. And there's a very obvious connection between the Haftarah and the Parsha, in that the Parsha speaks of the two sons of Aaron, that is Nadav and Avihu, and they had offered alien fire to the Eternal. And they were, as a result, consumed by God's fire during the inauguration of the Mishkan. Like Uzzah, they had made an error in judgment, and they'd overstepped appropriate boundaries. By not staying within the rules, they were potentially disrupting the divine order of things. And tonight, this should resonate deeply within us, because we see in today's world how Russia has overstepped its appropriate boundaries and plunged not only Ukraine, but the very notion of stability and democracy into crisis. Chaos can only be restored to order through the setting of boundaries, and peace can only be achieved through the respect for boundaries. And tonight we've lit the candles to demarcate the boundary between the secular week and the Holy Sabbath. And let us hope that the flames come to symbolize the divine light of a world restored. And without further ado, I'm going to ask Rabbi Elisheva to join us.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you so much. Boy, you really gave me a tremendous amount of things to think about there in our world, and how we, how important it is for us to both respect and cross boundaries, and how we redeem ourselves in that moment. Thank you so much, Gail. Let us turn to page 130. Nekadma fanav betodah bezmirot nariyalo ki el gadol Adonai umelech gadol al kol Elohim asher beyado mekireh haaretz v'tohafot harim lo asher lo hayam v'hu asahu hayavasha yadav yatzro. Come, let us sing joyously to the Almighty. Raise a shout for our rock and our deliverer. Oh, we are so in the seasons of deliverance. Ki Adonai Eloheinu, because he is our God. Ve'anachnu am, and we are God's people and the flock that is gathered unto God. Hayom im bekolo tishma'u. Only we can see that trace of holiness in the world. Then we can truly become part of those who help to rectify the shiftings of the boundaries. We continue with Psalm 96 on page 131. Shir l'Adonai shir chadash, shir l'Adonai kol haaretz, shir l'Adonai baruch shmo, basru miyom liyom yeshuato, safru b'goyim kvodo, b'chol ha'amim niflotav, ki gadol Adonai umechulal me'od, norahu al kol ha'elohim, ki kol Elohei ha'amim elimim, v'Adonai shemayim asa. Oh, all other things are real, but the truest reality is that of the Creator. Hod v'hadar lefanav, Oz v'na'ara b'kosho. Yismechu hashemayim v'tegen ha'aretz. Yiram hayam umlo'o. Ya'alu sadeh kol asher bo. Az yobu kol atzei ya'a. Lifnei Adonai kiva. Kiva lishpot ha'aretz. Yishpot b'davar v'tzedek. Ba'amim ba'emunat. Let us move now to page 132, Psalm 97. No, hang on a second. Sorry, Lila, stop. Go lie down. Sorry, I have a bouncing puppy on the other side of my screen. Yes. Lila. So we'll do the English on page 132. Adonai is sovereign. Let the earth exult. The many islands rejoice. Dense clouds are around God. Righteousness and justice are at the base of God's throne. O you who love Adonai, hate evil. God guards the lives of God's loyal ones, saving them from the hand of the wicked. Light is sown for the righteous, radiance for the upright. Ozaru ala tzadik, ule yisharei lev simcha. Ozaru ala tzadik, ule yisharei lev simcha. Simchu tzadikim b'Adonai, behodu lezecher kodsho. Simchu tzadikim l'Adonai, behodu lezecher kodsho. Page 133, Mizmor. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash, ki niflaot asa, Hoshia lo yimino v'zroa kodsho, Odi Adonai yeshuot, l'nei goyim golat tzadiketo, zecher chasto v'imanato, l'beit Yisrael, uvo kol asfei aretz, ehet, Yeshuat Eloheinu. Raise a shout to Adonai, all the earth. Break into joyous songs of praise. Page 134. Psalm 99. We go almost up to 100 and then we shift over to, sorry, 98. We're on 98. On page 134, we're heading towards 100. We shift over to Psalm 29 at the end of this. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash, ki niflaot asa. And now I'm seeing I'm missing my cue, so sorry. Zamru l'Adonai should be the choir.
Zamru l'Adonai bechinor, 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 v'kol zimra, b'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar, shofar, hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai. Zamru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra, b'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar, shofar, hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai. Yiram hayam omlo, tevel v'yosh v'hiva. נהרות ימחאו כף יחד, הרים ירננו, לפני אדוני גבעה גבעה, ישפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק, ועמים במישרים. יירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויוש ואיבה.
we're on Psalm 99, which is on page 135. Adonai, enthroned on cherubim, is sovereign. People tremble, the earth quakes. Adonai is great in Zion and exalted above all peoples. They praise your name as great and awesome. God is holy. Mighty ruler who loves justice, it was you who established equity. You who worked righteous judgment in Jacob. Exalt Adonai our God and bow down to God's footstool. God is holy. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehakodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehakodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Page 136. Mizmor leDavid. Havul Adonai b'nei Elim. Havul Adonai kavod va'oz. Havul Adonai kavod shemo. Yishtachavu l'Adonai v'chadrot kodesh. Kol Adonai ha'amayim el hakavod yirim. Adonai emayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach. Kol Adonai be'adah. Kol Adonai shover arazim. V'yishaver Adonai et alzei havanon. Vayakirem kemo egel levanon v'siryon kemo mim. Kol Adonai yotzei flavodesh. Kol Adonai yachil midbar. Yachil Adonai midbar kodesh. Kol Adonai yechol al ayalot. Vayechesov yeharot. Uvehechalo kulo merkavod. Kulo omer kavod. Adonai lemavu yashav. Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam. Adonai oz lehamo yitein. Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. We turn to page 138 for the Chadodi.
Lecha dodi, tikrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, tikrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el ha'miyuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad. Shemo tiferet v'liti la 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 la. Lecha dodi, tikrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, tikrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Tikrat Shabbat, lechu v'nilcha, ki mekor ha'beracha, merosh mikedem nesucha. Maaseh b'machshavat hila la 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 la. Lecha dodi, tikrat לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עם מלוכה, ומצאים מתוך הפכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך לה 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 לה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לה 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 לה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לה לה.
טוב, טוב, טוב להודות, טוב להודות לאדוני, לאדוני, טוב, טוב, טוב להודות, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, לשמך העליון. ולזמר לשמך
And with the ending of Psalm 92, this brings us into our Shabbat evening, into this moment where we welcome our extra souls that have come to join us and become, just for these 24 hours, the fullest, most perfect selves we can be. We give ourselves this opportunity to be with our families, to eat with our friends, to share words of Torah and words of wisdom. And we begin this and every part of our transformation, which is a continuous transformation, which I suppose is good, with the act of praise, the Chatzi Kaddish, on page 144. continue with the evening blessing, the blessing for the gentleness of dark. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidbaro mariv aravim bechokma poteach sharim ובגבונה משנה עיתים ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים בממשלותיהם ברקיע כרצונו בורא יום ולילה גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב הרבים. The blessing for love is found on page 150. אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכרנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה. ואהבתך תסור ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. Sorry, we gather our tzitzit, we cover our eyes for the Shema on page 152, and the choir is going to lead us.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed.
We continue on page 154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושינתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשופבך ובקומך. וכשתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Please be seated. And we continue on page 156. All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and Saviour, who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You performed miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקר הים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. I will continue on page 159. Where will I find you, if not in the shelves of the heart, in the cupboards of my bones, on the spiraling stairways of my fingertips? Where will I find you, if not in the light that gathers us each morning in its golden net, or in the light of the Sabbath candles, sturdy as the columns of your house? Each day, I am called to recreate your house with everything at my disposal, a never-ending stairway of righteousness, cupboards full of good deeds, shelf upon shelf of loving kindness. And we continue on page 160. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, Ba'al Yerushalayim. We continue on page 162. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam, beini uven b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz, uvayom ha-shvi'i shavat v'yinafash. And we will continue with the Amidah. Please stand, page 164.
Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi yagidei latecha. Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi yagidei latecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Elohei Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim ve'Konei HaKol ve'Zocher Chasdei Avot ve'Imaot u'mevii Geula לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה.
We continue on page 168. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayeh hakol ata, Rav Lahoshia. Rav Lahoshia. Mashiv haruach umorid hageshem, mazriach hashemesh umorid hatal. Machalkel chayim v'chesed, mechayeh hakol barachamim rabim, somech noflim v'rofei cholim umatir asurim, umkayem emunato l'shenei afar. מי כמוך בעל גבורות עומד דומה לך, מלך ממיתם חיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. Page 170. אתה קדוש, you are holy, בשמך קדוש, your name is holy, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע, and those who are holy praise you every day. ברוך אתה אדוני האל HaKadosh. Page 172. Ata kidashte et yom hashvi lishmecha. You set aside the seventh day for your name, the pinnacle of creation, and you blessed it above all other days, more sacred than all festival times. So it is written in your Torah. The heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing, and God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that had been done. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it God ceased from making all the work of creation. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu, ratzeh v'mnuchatenu, kadshenu b'mitzvotecha v'ten chelkenu b'toratecha, sabenu mituvecha v'samchenu b'shuatecha.
ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו לעובדך באמת. ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו לעובדך באמת. דה 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 אוי דה 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 ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו לעבדך באמת. ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו לעבדך באמת.
והנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו, באהבה ורצון שבת קודשך, ואנו חובה ישראל מקדשי שמך. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת. Page 174. Find favor, eternal our God, with your people Israel, and accept their prayer in love. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable. God, who is near to all who call, turn lovingly to your servants. Pour out your Spirit upon us. Let our eyes behold your loving return to Zion. Blessed are you, Eternal One, whose presence returns to Zion. Baruch atah Adonai, hamachazir shchinato letzion. Page 176. Modim anachnu lach, she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu le'olam va'ed. Tzur chayenu, magen yeshenu, ata hu lador vador. נודה לך נספר תהילתך, על חיינו המסורים בידיך, ועל נשמותינו הפקודות לך, ועל ניסיך שבכל יום עמנו, ועל נפלותיך וטובותיך שבכל עת, ערב ובוקר וצהריים. הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך, והמרחם כי לא תרמו חסדיך, מעולם קווינו לך. ועל כולם יתברך יתרומם שמך מלכנו תמיד לעולם ועד. וכל החיים יודוך סלע, והללו את שמך באמת. האל ישועתנו ועזרתנו סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, הטוב שמך ולך נאה להודות. Please be seated, and we now take a few moments for our own silent meditation, for us to connect with God.
אלוהי נצור לשוני מרע, ושפתיים מדבר ממה. ונמחל אלי נפשי תדום, ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה אלוהי. אלוהי. אלוהי נצור לשוני מרע, ושפתיים מדבר ממה. ונמחל אלי נפשי תדום, ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה אלוהי. אלוהי. לשוני מרע, ושפתיים מדבר עמה. ונמכר אליי נפשי תדום, ונפשי כעפר הכל תהיה אלוהי, אלוהי. פתח, פתח ליבי, ושפתיים מדבר עמה. ונמכר אליי נפשי תדום, ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה אלוהי, אלוהי. אלוהי נצור לשוני מרע, ושפתיים מדבר עמה. ונמכר אליי נפשי תדום, ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה אלוהי, אלוהי.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני, אדוני,
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And I've been really rolling in my mind Gail's beautiful words about the ease of overstepping our boundaries and the need to recognize and regroup. However, I want to talk with you about something completely different this evening. And I know we're a couple weeks away, but Passover is coming up. And in my world, we're teaching all of the children this tune. Lai, la, 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 la. Mikol Haleilot, right? Why is this night different from all other nights of the year? Now, I need to tell you, probably remind you, that in the Talmud, the 4 questions that we have, why do we eat matzah? Why do we eat bitter herbs? Why do we dip twice? And why do we recline? Are not specified as the only 4 questions we should get. What we're told in the Talmud is to make the evening, the meal very different, unusual, so that the children start to ask us questions like, why are we eating matzah tonight? And it's interesting and a little disheartening that we have codified these questions, to me, because it brings me to the idea that we don't always value creativity, or we don't always necessarily trust in the creativity of our children. That's not the best place to be. Because of course we do value creativity and we love our children's creativity. So what I want to propose tonight is that maybe there are some questions underlying our specified questions that are really the questions we wish our children would be asking, because they are in fact the questions that we ask. And they have to do with Gail's beautiful comment earlier as well. So let's look at our first question, the question of the matzah. Why do we eat this flat bread? that has functionally very little flavor. I know there's better matzah and worse matzah. Last year, people who made matzah with me, we had fun and it tasted pretty good. But matzah is matzah, and it is flat, and it is designed to make us feel like lechem oni, the bread of poverty. So, and we always say, yes, this is to remind us of what it's like to be a slave. But the bread of poverty is the bread with no richness, with no egg, with no saffron, with no raisins, without braiding. And the question is, why is it important for us to take even 8 days of a year and live without luxury? Without what we call chidur mitzvah, the beautification of our mitzvah, to scale it all down, to back it off. In what about that activity enables us, assists us to experience the revelation, the freedom better? And I think that's very important for us because we tend to elaborate, even though, we try to simplify. And it is sometimes in the simplest of things that we can find the great beauty of God. And those simple things, interestingly enough, are often ingredients for creating great richness. Like the joy of studying a little text with your family. You find that everybody has wonderful ideas on a Passover night. And from that simple thing, from asking these questions about the text, you get a tradition, you get a meal, you get a feeling. And so instead of asking, why do we eat matzah because the slaves did, we might want to ask, how can we return to those simple things to make our lives richer? When we look at the bitter herbs, why do we eat bitterness? We eat bitterness to remember that it was bitter to be slaves, but we also eat bitterness because life is not always sweet. There are people suffering in the Ukraine. There are people suffering in Russia. There are people suffering next door in Alex. We eat the bitterness because sometimes we must not eat it in order to do the things that go on in the world. And so the question that I hope my child, who is now almost an adult, will ask me this year is, how can I live? How do I live? How do I balance, Mom? Maman? The difficult, the really heart-wrenching, aching reality of this world into which you have brought me, with the tremendous joy and the tremendous beauty that exists. How do I eat that bitter? How do I taste that sweet? And it's a question to which I have no answer. But it is a question that I want to ask, that I want her to ask, that I want her grandchildren to ask. How can we do it? How do we go on? What gives us that strength? Besides our hearts, besides God, besides each other, there's really nothing. But we try. That it's that struggle there. And that's related to the question of dipping twice. We dip because we immerse ourselves in something that is different. We dip our parsley, our hope, in our tears. We dip that bitterness in the sweetness, but the sweetness is also the mortar that rebuilds Egypt, that remakes the walls that held us in. And yet it's sweet. And so we live in the world of contrast. And my question would really, the question I would want to also hear from our children is, how do we build? How do we make something that is both meaningful to us while we are still enslaved? We are always enslaved on some level. The firstborn always die for our freedom. We never make it to the promised land if we've been slaves, unless we're very lucky and we're Joshua or Caleb. But we know it's there. The Messiah does not come in our lifetime, but we invite Elijah to come in and sip from the sweetness of our cups, knowing that the possibility may exist. So how do we dip ourselves fully in this world? And remember that we too are part of the Pharaoh, that we hold that Pharaoh in us, that we need those walls of protection, those walls of sanctity on some level, in order to be able to grow beyond them. How do we take, now back to Gail, how do we take the strange fire that we think is right and turn it to the service of the holy? Because everything, including the Pharaoh, outside and inside, is holy. And our last question that we usually ask is, why do we recline? We recline because the Romans reclined when they were free people and they ate. If you've ever tried this, by the way, it's really not comfortable, really reclining, like lying down. Not my idea of a good time. Much prefer to sit. Why do we try to be something we're not? Why do we take the images of luxury and social goodness and say, this is what is important to us? Why can't we hold ourselves within the beauty of what we have, within the tradition of what we have, and say, we're free, we can eat however we want. Yes, we can eat reclining, but we don't have to use that model. We can build for ourselves. So the question that I would want to hear from my great-grandchildren is, oh, ancestress, do you see that what we are doing is just as good, is just as meaningful, and is just as wonderful as this luxurious Roman feast? That each one of us holds the ability to create beauty and luxury, even in, going back to the matzah, in our simplicity, in our recognition of the bitterness, and in our immersion in the reality of the world. And so when you sit at your seders this year with, God willing, your children and maybe your grandchildren, if you're old enough to have them, and listen to these questions, I hope that you can hear the resonances of your ancestors asking these same questions, and open yourself up to the nuances of what we can be, how we really can escape our slavery, our inability to see the fire that is strange as strange, our acting appropriately towards all that is holy, and the connection that binds all of us together, slaves and free people, people throughout the world, the oppressed, the free, those living in luxury, those living in poverty, that this is the season of rebirth and of hope. May it be so for you and for the whole world. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you to Rabbi Elisheva for those wonderful words. And now, without further ado, I'd like to call to the bima all those who had a birthday in March. So don't be shy, we've got birthday chocolates. Those who had a birthday, may you live long and happy lives, filled with good health and delightful surprise, abundant parnasa and everything you need before you even know that you need it. May you receive clear guidance in everything you choose and support in everything you do. May you be protected from all manner of distress. And may the work of your hands and minds be blessed with success. May you get much nachas from your loved ones and from yourself. And may you be a blessing in the lives of everyone you touch. Yom Huledet Sameach, happy birthday to you and you and you and you and you and you. And do we have a song?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Yom Huledet Sameach. Yom Huledet Sameach. Yom Huledet Sameach. Ad me'ad
Hey, Dad. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, you, Dad. And now we're going to have the Vayachula and Kiddush read by Joshua Jankolo, if he'll come to the bima. And Joshua is a full-time student at Stanford University in California and is in South Africa for a short visit with his parents and family. In 2021, Josh was elected Vice President of the Stanford Israel Association and Head of Learning for the Jewish Student Association, and also to the Undergraduate Senate. Fantastic. This is wonderful for us. And here we go.
ביום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל עליהם ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי באנו וחטא ואותנו קידשה מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Well done, thank you. And please remain standing. I'm going to call as Ark Opener and Ark Closer Tony Sol and Tabisa Mkani. And we will continue on page 586 with the Alena. Tabisi's doing a lot of exercise tonight, up and down.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה. השמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים עמה, ושכינתו זו, בגובה מרומים. ואלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום ושבותה, לבבך. כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחתנו עוד.
Page 589. Eternal God, we face tomorrow with hope made stronger by the vision of your reign. A world where poverty and war are banished, where injustice and hate are gone. Teach us more and more to share the pain of others, to heed your call for justice, to pursue the blessing of peace. Help us, O God, to gain victory over evil, to bring nearer the day when all the world shall truly be one. We will continue on page 593, reading number 2. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. And this evening we remember Sheila Tabak, mother of Jack Tabak, Molly Smollen, mother of Doug Smollen, Elsie Borstein, mother of Martin Borstein, Mari Lou Else, daughter of Joan Smith, wife of Chris and mother of Joan and Villani and cousin of Eunice. And from Bet Menorah, passed away recently, Zelna Tate. From Bet David Durban, David Rebeck, husband of Alison and brother of Barry Rebeck, Thelma Epstein, and who passed away recently, Gillian Gresack, sister of Robert Gresack, sister-in-law of Anita, and aunt of Leanne and Jason. And also from our synagogue, who passed away recently, Minna Goodwill Kay, mother of Tony Kay, Jeff Kay, Jennifer Berold, and Karen Becker, and Jeff Matty, friend of Des and Ashley Sweek. And we will continue with the Kaddish, the Mourner's Kaddish, on page 598. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, v'olma divrach rutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman karib v'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah maborach le'olam olomei omavya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ah v'yit tramam v'yit naseh. V'yit hadar v'yit haleh v'yit halal shmei dekudsha b'rechu. Le'elam min ko bechata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran ba'oma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Please be seated. Thank you to congregants who participated in the service, and thank you to Rabbi Elisheva again for her moving sermon. We're looking for volunteers to assist with a variety of tasks around the synagogue. So should anyone love gardening, we'd be grateful if you'd help with the upkeep of the gardens. If you enjoy cooking or catering, your assistance with barachot and other food-related activities would also be so welcome. We require people to do shamas duties at the weekly Shabbat services as well. If you'd like to volunteer or be part of the Bet David team, please contact the office, the normal number 011 783 7117. Shabbat youth service tomorrow mornings at 8:30 in the synagogue. All children are invited to come to this youth-led service. The Shacharit service tomorrow is at the usual time of 10 a.m., after which there will be a brocha. The Sisterhood of Temple David is making a special appeal for donations of jam, peanut butter, and margarine for their children's feeding project in Alex. These donations can be brought to the synagogue, or alternative, you can make money tree donations and use the Sisterhood bank account details. The details are in the Adkan. Pesach is a mere 3 weeks away. Erev Pesach is on Friday the 15th of April. There will be a Pesach service at Bet David. More details will follow next week, and we'll confirm that there is going to be a 7th Eve Pesach National SAUPJ combined Zoom service on Thursday the 21st of April at 9:30. In closing, this Shabbat is Rabbi Elisheva Salomo's final Shabbat with us, and I'd like to read an extract from a letter written by Desmond Sweet to Rabbi, which expresses our communal gratitude. And actually, I'm going to ask Ian if he will come up and read.
Rabbi Elisheva, on behalf of the Management Committee, ITJ students, congregants of Bet David, I wish to express my heartfelt thanks to you. Since our introduction in the late September of 2020, all our interactions with you have been both a pleasure and an inspiration. We are most grateful for your intense involvement in the diverse rabbinic activities that you have conducted with devotion, warmth, and competence. Your leading of services, delivery of sermons, conducting of life cycle events, teaching the ITJ and adult learning classes, conducting Torah studies, as well as participation in the Bet Din and activities of the South African Association of Progressive Rabbis, have enriched all those concerned and greatly enhanced the profile of Bet David. It's our hope that you benefit from these undertakings too, and that the relationship you have formed will continue into the future. While most of our interactions have been at a distance via Zoom, we were privileged and blessed to have you and Alma with us in South Africa at Bet David for a short time. We wish you and Alma and Amalia the best of the future, and kol hakavod for all you've done for our community. That comes from all of us and from our chairman, Des.
Thank you, Ian. And thanks again to Rabbi Elisheva for everything she's done for the congregation. We will continue on page 627 with Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Yod, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochim Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedkem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Oh, it is. Thank you so much, Desmond, and everyone for your sweetness. I have had the most magnificent time being a part of this holy endeavor, and I will always remain in contact with those of you who wish to stay in contact. And Beit David has an eternal place in my heart, in the heart of my daughter, and in our prayers always. Oh dear. Well, as you can see, I brought a friend. This is Cornelius, to bless you this evening. And let me get him so that he can see you can see him properly. Cornelius is a Vietnamese mossy frog, so he's not the kind of frog that would have plagued the Israelites. I felt that really I couldn't leave Beit David without sharing yet another one of my animals with you. He's not cooperating, as you can also see. There we go. And I wanted to leave you with the blessing of frogs as we move to the end of our service. And the thing about frogs is they know how to find water, and water is our metaphor for Torah. They are immersed always in Torah. That is their nature. And when a frog reproduces, it brings many opportunities into the world. And so he's not going to cooperate. I'm so sorry. And so we should also do this. We should take our Torah and allow it to multiply in ways that we have no control over, but that we should bring as much Torah as possible into the world. And the other thing that the frog does is that it stays put, I say, until it needs to leap. I'm just waiting for him to help me with this one. And, it is really also our work to build where we are, to deepen our connections, to reach out to new friends at Beit David right tonight and say to them, I'm so-and-so, who are you? to sit where we are, to build where we are, and then to reach out into the world. And so my blessing for you and for Beit David is the blessing of frog. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you that you are always surrounded by Torah. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. May God lift God's face to you and give you the opportunity to share so much of yourself with the world. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God lift God's face to you, to all of you, to our holy community, to holy communities throughout the world. May we be blessed to build, to grow, to create holiness wherever we happen to be. And may in our hands and in our heart and that work create the true possibility of peace. Shabbat Shalom.
And finally, we will come to Hamotzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Amen. Good Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Umvorach, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Umvorach, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat.